Welcome to Defining Dad Bod, where my dad, Coach Alex Van Houten, posts his 14 years of experience to work for you. You should listen to him. Here's Pretty Beast Mode. Who knows who we could be if we could become 1% better every single day.
What is up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod, where we work to improve ourselves, our families, and our communities through disciplined and intelligent nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle practices. You're listening to episode 151 of the Defining Dad Bod podcast, and this one's called The Master Plan. What to expect in season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. It's going to be an awesome show. 2 pieces of housekeeping before we get there. First, if you haven't already, check out definingdadbod.com/TRUFIT to get on the list to receive some more information about our TRUFIT Mastermind coming up in August. It's going to be a powerful 6 weeks where we go through nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle in a practical way for you and your long-term health and fitness goals. Last year about this time, we did the Hormone Optimization Mastermind, and all those who participated said it was very powerful and valuable as we walked through how to get your insulin system, your cortisol system, your testosterone, and your thyroid working for your goals rather than against them. And this year, we'll be building on those principles and challenging you to make the small changes that create big differences in you over time. It was an awesome time last year, and I'd love to have you involved this year. That's definingdadbod.com/TrueFit. The form's at the top of the page. Get on the list, and we'll send you some more information as the time gets closer. That's definingdadbod.com/TrueFit. TRUFIT. And the second piece of housekeeping is thank you so much for your positive feedback on our Season 2 finale. Gabriel got a big kick out of hearing how much everybody appreciated his input, and it meant a lot to me as a dad to be able to tell him so. If you haven't already, make sure to go to the iTunes application and write us a raving review, telling us and potential listeners what value Defining Dad Bod has brought to your journey. Not only do I appreciate your feedback there, but the more reviews we get on iTunes, the higher we climb on the podcast charts, and the easier it is for other people to discover us when they're searching for answers for their health and fitness journey. It takes 2 minutes, and we appreciate you taking the time to tell us what you think about the show. Now, we've got some cool stuff coming up here in Season 3. Let's dive into it. Welcome to Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're as excited as I am. In fact, I'm so excited that I'm taking one entire episode today to talk through what you should expect in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. We've got a lot of things coming up in the next 50 episodes to help you along your health and fitness journey, and I want you to be ready for them. We haven't done an episode like this before for a couple of reasons. The first is that when I started Defining Dad Bod, I really didn't know the first thing about creating a podcast, and it could be argued that I still have a lot to learn. However, one of the things that I do know now is I understand both the spirit of and the trajectory of where we're going with Defining Dad Bod. See, the first time I turned on a microphone in my office and published a show to the world, the impetus was this. I'd become a father, I'd struggled with my health and fitness journey for the first time in my entire life, and I'd stumbled upon some research that just blew my mind, and I thought everybody needed to know about it. I started talking it through with my clients and thought, you know what, if this conversation was recorded, I wouldn't have to have it 25 times. And bam, podcast. I typed into the search bar on YouTube, how to start a podcast, and I basically followed the first 5 steps of the video that I watched. 151 episodes later, we've definitely evolved what we do around here at Defining Dad Bod. We have a listener-supported show, we have a coaching business and a platform, and we have a free online community. And while we've done a number of shows, weight loss journeys, monologues and lectures, series, and we've had a lot of experts on, talking about everything from intermittent fasting and somatic movement to overcoming cancer and staying in shape as a fit father while fighting for your life. And so several of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today in what to expect in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod comes out of what I've learned through the last 150 episodes and out of my personal commitment to do you, the listener, justice in inspiring, encouraging, and equipping you to make yourself, your family, and your community 1% better every single day. And while the reason I got on the microphone was to publish conversations that I found very valuable to people out on the fitness floor, the other reason we haven't had a show like this in the past is more personal in nature. Frankly, the last 3 years since I've started Defining Dad Bod has been quite the roller coaster ride. I'll make a long story very short, but basically, since trying to publish valuable conversations that clients found awesome on the fitness floor, I got fired from my job of 8 years for the conflict of interest. We moved from Colorado to Arkansas. We had our second kiddo, and we've been growing roots in our new community. It's been an awesome journey, but as you can imagine, by necessity, with small kids, a new business, and new digs, it's been nearly impossible to look super far in the future and tell you what to expect from this show. All I knew is that every week I was going to bring you something valuable that was going to help you on your health and fitness journey. And the reason I knew it was valuable is because I've worked with people for a long time, and I know what the struggles are around exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle change. And I also know what the scientific community has said and hasn't said about the best ways to do those things. So I guess a thanks is in order. Thank you for sticking with me through the first 150 episodes of this show, and I hope you're excited about being a little more forward-looking as our show matures and develops. So here are the 9 things that you can look forward to in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. Let's dive in. First, expect better sound quality from the show. I don't know if you noticed or not, but this episode sounds a lot better than 10 episodes ago. Part of the reason is we have an amazing sound editor, and she makes me sound like a better speaker than I actually am, which I appreciate very much. But also, we've constructed an amateur sound studio here in my house, and so a lot of the ambient noise won't be such an issue anymore. While I'll not bore you with woes of tales of how I've recorded podcasts with 2 small children in the house, I'll just say that you never really know when somebody's going to scream and cry, and trying to record something intelligent and meaningful around that is not very easy or pleasant. So, we still have a few kinks to work out as far as interviews are concerned, but in these solo episodes, I hope you'll notice here in Season 3, the sound quality's much better, so that's that. Number 2 of 9 things you can expect in Season 3 is we're going to have a lot more series in this season. Thus far in Defining Dad Bod, in the first 150 episodes, I've published a few series. I did the hormone series, which was wildly popular and still is, among those looking for answers with regard to their insulin, testosterone, cortisol, or thyroid hormones, and how they're affecting their health and fitness, particularly body composition and energy levels. I also published the Beyond Calories series, where I worked hard to help you understand your food beyond calories, so that we could work to treat our bodies like a biological entity rather than a simple math equation. And most recently, I published the TRUFIT series, a very long but informative series on the mindset and practice of creating long-term health and fitness goals and going for them. The series we do here is an attempt to do justice to a very complicated and important topic that usually comes out of questions that clients ask me regularly. That's true of the Hormone series, the Beyond Calories series, and the TRUFIT series. So here in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod, I have several series that I'm really excited to bring to you, and the process is going to be a little bit different. I'll announce the series that we're working on social media, and then I'll put some polls out to gather the questions of our community so that I can ensure that they're answered well in the series, both scientifically and practically. That way, we're not only bringing you great information, but we're also making sure that you get your questions answered in these series. After all, the goal is to have helpful resources for you and anybody in your circles who need answers on these topics, and we want to make sure and do the whole thing justice. So this season, I plan to do a series on supplements. I have questions regularly about things like creatine monohydrate, magnesium, vitamin D, and so I believe each of those supplements require a show in and of themselves to review the scientific literature and to explain how to use those in your daily practice, if it's relevant to you and your goals. I also have a series planned on fasting, which is a very broad and complicated topic that many have brought to the table in our live Q&As and experts have brought to the table in our interviews in the past. Also, I'm extremely excited that we're going to be picking back up and finishing off the series on exercise in the brain. Thus far, we've covered ADHD, depression, and exercise as the good stress, but we haven't gotten to the role of exercise in anxiety, or exercise in Alzheimer's, or even exercise in pregnancy and the development of children's brains. And lastly, another series I'm very excited about that will probably start but not finish in this season is a series on women's health and fitness. Which brings me to the number 3 of 9 things you should expect in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod, which is this. I'll be bringing my wife, Kristen Van Houten, registered dietitian, onto the show, and she'll help me cover the topics of women's fitness in full. I've had listeners and social media followers in the past ask for resources on women's issues specifically. Things like exercise while breastfeeding, postpartum body fat loss, or sleep issues during menopause. And while I've worked with my individual female clients, to help them overcome their personal obstacles with regard to health and fitness. I know how strange it might sound for a guy on a show called Defining Dad Bod to hop on and start telling ladies what they should do with themselves. Given that I'm obviously not a female, I think it would not only be helpful, but valuable to have my wonderful, well-educated, and Arkansas twangy wife jump into the show with us and cover some women's fitness topics. If you're a lady listening to this, you're probably clapping, and I'm sorry it took us so long to get here. And if you're one of my fellas listening to this, I'll just say, don't tune out of those episodes. You've heard happy wife, happy life, but I'd like to change it to healthy wife, happy life. And I would encourage you to listen to those episodes, maybe even share them with your spouse, because you know how passionate I am about being a fit father. But imagine what a house might look like if you're a fit couple. Hashtag couples workout. Now this thing, number 4 of the 9 things that's coming to you in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. I'm really excited about this one. Here in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod, we'll do a few less interviews with experts than in previous seasons and do a few more interviews with our coaching clients. As a coach, I've had the privilege of working with some amazing people in the last 14 years, and even at the time of this recording, I'm a practicing coach, which means I'm blessed with the responsibility to support and encourage many health and fitness journeys on a one-on-one basis. What's been powerful to me as a coach is that each person's journey is not only unique, but it has wisdom inherent in it that can help to inspire and inform anybody. If you've listened to the show for a while, you've heard me reference my clients' journeys very often and use their experiences as examples to help you understand a topic or subject, or to help you bring the pathway forward to life a little bit. In Season 3, I plan to bring some of those conversations to the mic, and I hope that diving into the wisdom and practicality of those journeys will help you make some leaps forward too. Speaking of guests, the number 5 thing you should expect in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod is more Gabriel appearances. I know every parent thinks their kid's cute, and mine has me gushing pretty regularly. But what I didn't know is having him on the podcast is the highlight of some of our listeners' days. So don't worry, we won't have Gabriel on here teaching you all about sugar, I promise. But he's agreed to help me out on the podcast at least once a month. So you spoke, we listened. I'm looking forward to sharing some of our father-son time with you. I know it really warms my heart. I hope it does the same for you. Speaking of heartwarming, this is more of an online community thing than the Defining Dad Bod podcast thing. But the number 6 out of 9 things that you should expect in Season 3 is some more Faithful 40. At the time of this recording, we are on day 30 of our second Faithful 40 challenge, and that's going on in the inner circle of Defining Dad Bod. 50 brave souls have been faithfully journaling their mindset, their nutrition, and their exercise every single day in public, and the encouragement and outpouring of support there has been amazing. We've seen people lose pounds, we've seen people get better at exercise, and we've seen people rehabbing from surgery and improving their nutrition, all through powerful connections in the group. And so you can be sure that in Defining Dad Bod Season 3, we'll be talking more about the Faithful 40 and inviting more people to be a part of it. It's amazing how valuable a free challenge can be when you're really committed to it. Stay tuned for when we announce the next one, which will likely be in late August. Speaking of faith, the 7th thing that you should expect from Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod is a little more sharing on the mindset side of things. Many of you know that my faith is an extremely important part of my health and fitness journey, and that there are many times there wouldn't be much of a journey without it. I plan to talk more about that here in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. And don't worry, I won't be shoving religion and spirituality down your throat. Not only am I not qualified to do that, but I hate it when people do that to me either. But I will be sharing some of the things that I've written about with you, and even some of the things that have come up in relationship to exercise and nutrition when I teach middle school and men's Bible studies. One of the things that I've learned through doing the Faithful 40 with our community online is that many appreciate the mindset behind my personal exercise and nutrition journey, and not only my nutrition and exercise journey, but that of our community as well. For me, much of that mindset boils down to faith. And if you're not a particularly religious or spiritual person, you could also call that belief or the psychology of belief. But regardless of what you call it, I'm looking forward to sharing more of that with you here on the show, and hope it inspires you to continue developing a better mindset towards your own personal nutrition and exercise journey every day. The second to last thing you can expect in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod is lots of references to past work on the show. Earlier, when I told you some of the reasons that I'd never done a show like this before on Defining Dad Bod, I didn't mention a glaring one, and that is, there are foundational principles that need to be understood well before we can talk about some of the advanced things in health and fitness. For instance, I can do a series on supplements, like creatine and magnesium, But if you don't already understand the importance of base cardiovascular exercise on your own personal goals in health and fitness, then magnesium and creatine are not going to be very helpful to you. And while we'll be covering some powerful stuff like fasting, supplements, women's fitness, and even client success stories, get ready for references. I'll oftentimes harken back to previous episodes of the show, and anytime I do that, I'm going to work to make sure that the links are in the show notes. If I do reference a show, and you don't see a link in the show notes, make sure you reach out to me so I can point you in the direction of that resource. As of right now, I understand we have 100 hours of content on the internet, and it's difficult to navigate through all of it. So I hope by referencing a specific episode number and giving you the link, then when things like base cardio training come up in conversation, you can go check that information out. As a side note, if burning questions do come up, please drop those in the inner circle of Defining Dad Bod. If you're not already part of the Facebook group of Defining Dad Bod, I encourage you to jump in. It's free to join, and not only is our community there awesome, but once a month I go live to answer your questions in real time, so that if something on the show has stirred something in you, I can help you explore that subject and shed some light on what you can do about it practically. While I know Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod is going to be very powerful and very helpful, I also know it's not personalized coaching, and so dropping your question in the inner circle is the next best step. Again, if you're not a part of it, go to definingdadbod.com/inner circle. We'd love to have you. The last thing you can expect from Defining Dad Bod Season 3 is the rolling out of our coaching sponsorship program. As Defining Dad Bod has grown, so have the contributions to our work. And don't get me wrong, I need to make a living and feed my kids, but it's not my goal to buy a yacht on the contributions of the Defining Dad Bod podcast. Our business is split, such that the podcast is a listener-supported closed entity unto itself. In other words, every dollar invested into the free work of Defining Dad Bod goes back into the free work of Defining Dad Bod. Whereas the revenue generated from me as a business owner comes from my one-on-one coaching programs, and that's the way I'd like to keep things. However, as our listenership grows and as more people contribute to the show, we're coming to a place where we get to make a decision. Either I get to create more content for Defining Dad Bod, that would be like doing 2 episodes a week instead of 1, or we can find something else helpful to do within our community with contributions to the show. What I'd like to see in this season, and what I'll keep you posted on, is if we have enough support here in the show, then we'll be able to roll out a sponsorship program where somebody who's committed to and disciplined toward making changes in their life, but might not be financially equipped to pay for the professional support of one-on-one coaching, will still be able to sponsor that transformation. We're not there yet, but that's my vision. I think it's a humble and attainable goal to say that the listeners of Defining Dad Bod could sponsor 3 client transformations by the end of the year. Maybe that's a pipe dream, but I'd love to know what you think. Shoot me your feedback at coachal@definingdadbod.com. But before you do that, you might ask, why not just give away a couple programs for free, Alex? And there's a few things I'd say to that. First, I've given out a lot of free programs in my 14 years as a coach. And what's really interesting about it is that psychologically speaking, when something's free to you, you don't generally commit to it. And changing your exercise, your nutrition, and your lifestyle is a big commitment. One of the reasons personal training is so expensive is because it's a huge opportunity cost on both the part of the trainer and the client. Sometimes knowing the equivalent of a car payment is coming out of your bank account is the psychological push you need not to eat a donut and to get up at 6 a.m. and go for your run like you're supposed to. It's been my experience that most free programs don't work. In fact, in my 14 years as a coach, I've only had 3 clients get amazing results without paying a dime. And it's not because the programs are garbage. It's because when you give it away for free, people don't have skin in the game, and so they generally don't do it. Besides, there's a lot of free help elsewhere on the internet if you need it. We had the guy from Derby.com come on, and we talked about the difference between free help with your program and coaching. His name was David Amerlin, if you want to listen to that conversation. Or just check out Derby.com, DAREBEE.com, to get some of those resources. But coaching is an entirely different thing altogether. But wait a second, Alex. Wouldn't a sponsored program be the same thing as a free program? Financially, perhaps, for the person who's sponsored? Yeah, the net outcome might be the same. If they're sponsored well enough, their transformation could come at a cost of $0 to their bank account. However, being sponsored is not the same thing as being free. Let me explain. In my coaching practice, I have honored what I call a hardship month with any of my clients who ask for it. A hardship month means you've been paying me for coaching for a while. We've been making some great changes together. However, something intense just happened in your life, and you're not going to be able to make your coaching payment this month. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe your car broke down unexpectedly, and it was very expensive to get it back up and running. Maybe one of your kids needed surgery, and it was going to be a big bill. Whatever the case is, at my discretion as a business owner, I've said in the past, you know what? Don't worry about this month. I don't want this thing to throw a wrench in your health and fitness goals. I'll waive your fee, and your coaching will continue as if nothing ever happened. And then we can evaluate at the end of this month and see whether or not financially you'll be able to continue. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And with those exact words, my client will go into their month just like any other coaching month. But what's wild about it is this. You would think that with some sort of tragedy on the horizon, their fitness goals would falter. But that's not at all what happens. Instead, without fail, every client that I've ever offered that to increases the intensity of their program. They do more of their workouts on time. They eat better. They send their food journals consistently. They make their coaching calls and they're very involved. And if I ask them, hey, you seem really on it this month. What's the difference? They generally say something along the lines of, Alex, you did me a solid, and I think the best way I can return the favor is being committed to my program and doing it justice. And so that's the key to sponsorship. In psychology, we call that reciprocity. Reciprocity means you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, which is not the same thing as, can I try a free back scratch, please? And so that's the psychology behind why sponsorship works. I think if we do it right, we can change some lives and make our communities better. You'll get more information on how to register as a sponsor or how to nominate somebody to be sponsored in the relatively near future. Again, I'd love your feedback on that at coachal@definingdadbod.com. I think it's a powerful thing to work toward, and I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. So there you have it. 9 things to expect in Season 3 of Defining Dad Bod. In a time when the world around us is so tumultuous, and it's difficult to know what's coming next, I appreciate your support and your commitment to controlling what we can control, and to implementing powerful practices and disciplines in our own personal journeys. For my part, I hope that if you're part of the Defining Dad Bod community, that we play a role in helping you come out of this thing stronger than you went into it. No matter what we do here, we've got a big year ahead of us. And while personally I don't pretend to know everything there is to know in the world, I do know that with regard to your body, what you do with it, what you feed it, and how you let it recover, you can do a better job. And by doing so, you'll encourage others to do the same. This has been Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. Until next time, guys, kick butt, take names.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The free practical advice and conversations here remain unbought and unbiased thanks to the support of listeners just like you. If this episode's been helpful to you, please share it with somebody in your life who you know it will benefit. Then subscribe to the podcast and leave us a raving review to tell others what value Defining Dad Bod has brought to your health and fitness journey. And finally, if you want more Defining Dad Bod, consider joining our online community. We send a lot of free perks and resources your way, and I, Coach Alex, go live every month to talk through our listeners' health and fitness questions to make the practical science of this show applicable to everyday life. Everyone's welcome, and we'd love to have you. For more information about joining the Inner Circle or becoming a supporter of the Defining Dad Bod podcast, go to definingdadbod.com/inner circle. That's definingdadbod.com/inner circle.